Pascal. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild, Haitian in the building, so original. Got the haters catching feelings. Get your hands up to the ceiling and keep them held high, cause St. Louis isn't ready. Forget about it, goodbye. Hold up, we just saying hi. Five somebody, rise up. Weekdays, catch us live, somebody. Let's go.
Good afternoon. Good morning and good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Pascal Show. Hope you guys all doing well out there. Hope this show finds you in good spirits, because another day above the dirt is what? Always a mother-loving blessing. Let's not forget that, okay? We got something we got to get into, and honestly, there's a reason why I wanted to jump on here and talk to you guys about this, because there's a lot going on in the political realm right now. There's a whole lot of stuff going on right now as we speak. This weekend, a lot of stuff has been going on. Not only just that mass tragedy that happened, not only in two places in California, but there's been a lot of political crap going on. A lot of mucky muck has been running amok in the White House. And we have got to talk about all this and then some. So do me a favor, before we get into everything, because there's going to be a press conference here any minute now, hit that like button down below. Crush it, do what to do. Hit that reaction button. If you are watching on these other platforms, like Facebook, X/Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, Rumble, Twitch, and Kick, I'm on all those, guys. Make sure you are following. Follow on those platforms. Make sure you're subscribed here on my YouTube channel. Right here, my main channel. I also have two other channels, the Pascal Show Clips and Pascal Raw. Please go over there, subscribe to those channels as well. That'd be greatly appreciated. Hit that notification bell, set it to all, so you know whenever I go live, whenever I upload, because honestly, it is random, and a lot of times it's breaking news. So make sure you hit that notification bell. Hit that join button down below. Become a member. Support the channel if you can. That'd be greatly appreciated. Check out my Patreon if you want to support even further. And also, if you want to support even further than that, you can go and check out PascalMerch.com. PascalMerch.com. We got a really great allotment of merch over there. So go check it out. Okay, PascalMerch.com. Okay, guys. We have got to get into this. They're going to be going into a press conference any minute now. I'm just going to put this up here so that y'all can see it with your own two peepers. The White House is going to be holding a very much needed and impromptu press conference. Why? Because and a lot of y'all are going to be like, why are you doing this right now, Pascal? Why are you even showing this? Why are we even talking about this? A press conference, it has nothing to do with the Epstein files. Maybe not. I don't know. But there's been a lot of stuff that's been going on in that White House. There's been a lot of bad things that have been happening. Let's not forget the one thing that I have on the thumbnail of this whole video is, are we going into war with Venezuela? This is a very important piece of information. All of the things that we're looking at and why I want to bring this up all matter. They're all big deals. These are very big chunks. One of the big chunks that I'm hoping that we get an answer to right now is if we are going to be walking into war with Venezuela. Now, here's the thing. Just the other day, Trump shut off all airspace over Venezuela. This is a massive, massive deal. They believe that Trump is looking to basically go into militarizing and going into Venezuela, okay? Going into Venezuela to start a full-on fisticuffs with Venezuela. Now, here's the thing. When you shut off airspace, and this has happened before, okay? This has happened before, all right, where they've shut off airspace and then they said, hey, wait a second. You shut off airspace over a specific country. That is basically a step towards a declaration of war, just so you know. So now when people are seeing that the country, Venezuela's airspace has been shut off, what do you think people are going to think? That we are going to be walking into some sort of tussle with Venezuela. Of all places, Venezuela. Now, here's the other thing, too. There's something going on with mother-loving Pete Hegseth, okay? Now, I want to make this absolutely abundantly clear. Pete Hegseth is in a serious amount of trouble, okay? the Secretary of Defense or the Department of War, whatever they call themselves now, okay? Pete Hegseth is in some serious trouble. So according to this bombshell report by the Washington Post, it's wild, okay? They're saying that U.S. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth allegedly ordered lethal force with no survivors, okay? A directive that could rewrite the meaning of America's war on drugs, okay? Because I'm telling you right now, this is absolutely nuts. The fact that he did what he did, this is going to be, and it could be, one of the most shocking military stories in U.S. history, in recent U.S. history. Let me just correct myself there, okay? Now, on September 2nd, 2025, a boat off the coast of Trinidad, suspected of smuggling, substances, if you get what I'm saying, was struck by a missile, all right? Surveillance aircraft tracked that vessel. Analysts believed it carried substances, all right? So according to two people with direct knowledge of this mission, Hegseth allegedly issued a spoken order to, let me just say it, I can't even say this without it. The effect is a lot harder when you are saying it without code words. He said, kill them all. He really did say that. So what did they do? A missile was hit. Absolutely, what do you expect when a bomb hits a boat? The whole thing was completely obliterated, okay? But as the fire was cleared, two survivors were spotted clinging onto the wreckage. Now, this is a big problem, okay? That's a big problem. They clearly were surrendering. All they were trying to do was hold water, for lack of a better term. But they did a double tap. This is what they've been calling it, a double tap approach or something like that. Okay, so the commander on the scene, okay, fearful, okay, of the commander on the scene, okay. All I got to say is, okay, so the SEAL team, I'm trying to get all this information out as quickly as I can. I'm sorry. So a fearsome elite forces from SEAL Team 6, okay, reportedly ordered a second strike, okay, targeting survivors in the water. So the two guys that were actually holding on to the boat tapped out. Okay? Completely tapped out. Now, legal experts are actually calling this potentially murder or a war crime because the boat's occupants posed no immediate combat threat. They were survivors, guys. It's not like they came out of the water just guns blazing and, trying to take down whoever took them down, right? They were holding on to debris of the boat, which is obviously telling, to me at least, that they were survivors, defenseless in the water. International law prohibits targeting them in such a way, like a double tap. They went over there, they saw the boat, they said, oh, they're smuggling, nasty things, trying to hurt American people. They completely obliterated the boat. Two lucky sons of guns, okay, were holding on to the debris of this boat. They went back and they annihilated them again. This is bad. Okay? Even under the administration's justification that this strike was part of some so-called non-international armed conflict, okay, with traffickers and terries, many argue that the unalive everyone order violates the principle of no quarter, okay? So the precedent matters, okay? Since that first strike, the U.S. military reportedly launched at least 22 more boat strikes in the Caribbean, however you say that, okay, and Eastern Pacific, killing more than 80 plus people, y'all. So this is a very, very big deal. Long story short, this is a massive, massive deal. Not only the fact that we are going into possible fisticuffs with Venezuela, but this is also a very concerning thing because you have somebody or the administration right now saying, yeah, they're smuggling dirty things, bad things into our country, which some people are actually arguing, saying that, are they really bringing substances into America? Are they really smuggling substances into America? This is what we're being told. But is there actual proof of that? These are all very important pieces of information. Now, here's the other thing, too. All right? Here's the other thing, too. Pete Hegseth is looking at he's looking at something that could potentially just get him in some serious trouble. Okay? This is a very bad look, not only just on Pete Hegseth, but also looking really, really bad for Trump. There are reports that Trump is actually trying to trying to clear distance between him and Pete Hegseth because of what's happened here. Okay, he's basically going like, yo, my name's Bennett, I ain't in it. Okay, I'm over here. Okay, I'm busy playing golf. He out there just, playing war crimes, right? Pete Hegseth. And probably doing cake stands. I don't know, maybe. But moving on. One thing is very interesting is that there has been no war declared on Venezuela. I want to make that abundantly clear. Nothing has been declared on Venezuela. But one thing is for sure. I have the question of, if we do declare war, if America does declare war on Venezuela, does this protect Pete Hegseth from actually getting charged for any type of war crime or for murder? Think about that for a second. Like I said again, they saw them in that boat traveling north in the Caribbean. They struck that boat. They got the order to, quote unquote, kill them all from Pete Hegseth himself. They dropped bombs on it. It went kaboom. When the fire and smoke subsided, they saw that there were 2 individuals that were still alive. And instead of scooping them up, detaining them, arresting them, whatever you want to call them, making them POWs, prisoners of war, or, prisoners of the government, whatever you want to call it. Instead of doing that, they swooped back and they took those 2 men out who clearly were not posing a threat at that particular moment. Now, don't get me wrong, okay? Don't get me wrong. If they just let those guys survive and they found a way to get back to their country, who's to say that they're not going to try to do more, right? Who's to say that they're not going to try to get back on another boat in a couple weeks from now and try to do the same damn thing that they were doing when they got hit by the boom boom by the U.S.? But at the same time, we don't know that. These were 2 defenseless, unarmed individuals that were just trying to wade water. Real talk. They were trying to tread water. And they got the double tap order to take those 2 at that moment innocent lives. Think about that for a second. Okay? So this is a very, very big deal because if Pete Hegseth is hit with some sort of charge like this, while he is holding a position that he does, this is a very, very bad look. And it's not only just a bad look for Pete Hegseth, this is a very, very bad look for Donald J. Trump as well. This is going to be absolutely insane. But here's the thing. If there is war declared on Venezuela, it might change the trajectory for Pete Hegseth. It might. And I'm kind of curious as to what is actually going on, because within this weekend, we heard, and this is like a domino effect. Just hear me out. This all happened within a domino effect. We heard Washington Post drop a major bombshell about Pete Hegseth and this alleged war crime, if not M charge, okay? The next day, if I'm correct, Trump declares no airspace around the country of Venezuela. Don't you find that a little bit interesting? Now, they've already been deploying and doing all kinds of different things, threatening, giving off the threat that we're going to do it. We're going to do it. You know what I'm saying? It's been a lot of that. It's like dad in the car and you've asked too many times, like, are we there yet? And he says, you ask me one more time, I'm turning this car around. But this time, instead of him actually threatening to do that, he might actually turn the car around. He might flip that B right around and take his whole family asses home. That's the situation we're in the middle of right now. Trump's been saying, hey, Venezuela, do not make us turn this car around. Don't make us turn this car around. And he might actually turn this car around. But is it possible that he's doing that for the sake of Pete Hegseth? I got questiones. I got a lot of questions, y'all. Okay? Got a lot of questiones. Because the timing is very strange. But haven't we noticed that lately? Have we not seen that as of late? The timing on everything is quite perplexing, wouldn't you say, love? Hasn't it, though? I mean, has it not been quite perplexing? Remember, Epstein stuff. Oh, these are not the files that you're looking for. I know that was very Star Wars-y. But remember the timeline that led us all the way up to the moment of, oh, there are no files. There is no list. There's nothing to look at over here. Yet there clearly was, which we saw in real time that the administration has been lying to us. The timeline is just so palpable. It's so thick. You could cut it with a knife. In fact, it's so damn dense and thick, you need to pull out that steak knife or that really good one, you know what I'm saying, that you only pull out on very special occasions when you got to cut something really, really nice and thin. It's, you know what I mean, that really sharp knife. Okay, you keep away from the kids and everything. You put it up all the way up in the high cabinet so none of your little ones can, you know, because you got little, you know, rugrats running around. You put it all the way up at the top because you know how sharp that mother lover is. It's that kind of thick, okay, that you need a knife that sharp. And now we're seeing something else in real time. At least in my personal opinion, we are seeing in real time a possible other cover-up, which is now like we have no other choice but to go to war now. Remember, this is President Peace. This is President Peace, everybody. President Peace. And now, there could be military deployed to Venezuela before Christmas Day. Ain't that something? Like I said, this is a lot to think about. And that's not the only thing. Like I said, there's still talks and conversations about the Epstein files. We just heard, or at least I heard, that the FBI already deleted or redacted or removed, hundreds of gigs worth of files in the Epstein files. Yeah. For what reason, I still don't know. But they removed files. Remember this, though. Pam Bondi herself said, that they will be removing names if they have to. They will be redacting or removing names from the files if they have to. But they have to give a reason, a written reason why they remove those specific persons' names. period. Oh, and I'm sorry. Let's not forget this too. I totally forgot. My bad, y'all. Here's the other thing. Any updates in the National Guard tragedy? What's going on with that? Forgot to tell you that too. Let's not forget that. Ramanullah Lackenwall, if I'm saying his name correctly. Okay? Person who ran up to 2 National Guards in broad daylight and pulled the trigger. One of them is gone. May she rest in peace. But we still have no information revolving around that, except for the fact that he has cut off all immigration from all third world countries. Can you believe that? All third world countries. Not just Afghanistan. We're talking about all third world countries. You can't make this up. Like I said, Daniel on Facebook, yes. Yep. The timing on both make you say, things that make things that make you go, That's an old song, but you know what I'm talking about. Things that make you go, okay? No doubt. All right? The timing is a little bit weird. All of the timing for all of this is strange. Okay? So I'd like to know exactly what's going on here. So updates, hopefully they will give us about the assailant, which they say was radicalized after he moved to America, guys. Yes, they say Ramanullah Lackenwall was radicalized after he immigrated to America. Yeah, that's according to reports now. I guess we got to take a lot of things with a grain of salt, but that is what they're saying out here in these political streets. This is insane, guys. We're living in some very, very wild times, and we all got to ask the same doggone questions. Okay, we all got to ask the same questions because we are not dumb. Okay. We're not dumb. And I think that with this whole war crime allegation, I don't see this as far-fetched. Okay? I don't see that as a far-fetched allegation. I really don't. And I know some of you guys are going to get in your feelings about that, but here it is. I just don't see that. I truly believe this is a different administration than the first term, okay? Than his first term. This is a completely different animal, completely different one. And I feel like this one, all right, this particular administration, this team that he has put together, I feel like a lot of them feel like whatever they say is law, that they are above the law, okay? That's what I think. So I got questions. Hopefully we're going to find out something here. But I don't know, because we are dealing with Caroline, and I get it. She's doing her job, and her job is to just verbal salad or word salad. I try to get all Harvard on it. Verbal salad, verbal vegetation in a bowl. But yes, I feel like we're just going to get a bunch of birdshot answers from her that are properly vetted, beautifully scripted, because she very good at that. She very, very good at that. Okay? Hey, man. Even though I know she's lying, I'm like, damn, she's really good at this. She's really good at this lying. Damn. Very well. She does very, very, very well for herself with the lying. I have to say that. I'm sorry. Yes, it's verbal diarrhea. Yes. Verbal excrement coming out like lava. Yes. Yes. And for some odd reason, some neck of the woods, some neck of the country just goes, well, she said it must be the truth. It's not, guys. Sorry. Yeah, you aren't wrong. Viola's daughter. Her job is to lie. Yeah. Her job is to lie, basically. You know? It's like you'd think that they would be the buffer between the media and the White House, and that they would be truth tellers. But we don't get that from any of them, honestly. They all BS. They all BS. So hopefully we're going to give some information about that. But okay. We're living in the early 2000s all over again, guys. Okay? We're living in the early 2000s all over again. All right? And Rainbow Star, yeah, you're right. She might come out here and go, here's all the truth. You know what I mean? Her hair all crazy and, pulls out like a full-on display with nothing but red yarn, connecting the dots. And that's why Charlie Kirk in France and Candace Owens, you know what I mean? Man, I kill for that moment. But here's the thing. Here's the thing, though. Okay? Yeah, true. We don't know what you're going to say. We'll see. But hopefully it's truth. Okay? Hopefully it's the truth. But she got a hard job. Because she directly lies to the media. And I'm not going to sit here and say everything she says is a lie. I'm not going to say that. But it's that game. It's that true truths and a lie type thing. But it's like two lies and a truth. And you got to figure out what in there is true and what's not. Right? And I still wonder what is going on with her nephew's mom. Right? Her brother's ex-wife. I'm still wondering about that too. Right? Candace Owens, 2028. Nah, we good. Nah, she can stay on that mic. We good. I can see her running, but would she win? Nah. She's got a huge following. We already know that. But will she win? Nah, I don't see it. But one thing is for sure, outside of all that, nah. I know, Jane. I know you're playing, but I just saw in the corner of my eye. I'm like, I have knee-jerk reaction is okay. She does very well for herself on her show. You know what I mean? Let her do her thing. But I just don't think then you could say the same thing about Alex Jones. You see what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I'm not a fan of Alex Jones either, but I'm just saying, like, he out here connecting all kinds of dots that didn't even have dots in the first doggone place. You feel me? So, it's very interesting, nonetheless. Okay, Nick Fuentes needs to stay far away from the White House. Okay, he needs to stay far away from that White House. Okay, just because these people have radical and they're bombastic, they're very strong in their thoughts and their opinions, does not automatically mean that they should be running for any elected position. I'm sorry. Okay. 2. Okay. Thanks for letting me know that. 2. Maybe 2 minutes, be out in 2 minutes. I don't know what that was. That was weird, But anyway, all I'm saying is just because Alex Jones is, yes, he is. Okay. He's not finding the breadcrumbs. He's actually making the bread. Okay. He kneading the dough. He's baking that mother loving bread. He puts it out. He lets it sit there for a little bit to get crusty. And then he crumbles it up. Okay. And he makes his own home bread breadcrumbs leading to these crazy theories that I've never heard of before. Okay. But again, let me just tell you this. All right. All right. A broken clock can be right 2 times a day. He is a very broken clock. I don't even think that clock is on. Okay. I don't even think it's even ticking. Okay. All right. So I don't know. There's a lot to consider when it comes to Alex Jones, just so you know. Okay. But outside of that, let's just say this. We need more truths. Okay. We need more proof. We need our administration to be real with us. And here's the problem. The likes of somebody like Candace Owens, who is diehard Trump, by the way, diehard. She is now not diehard anymore. She is completely the opposite. She's antithesis of that. She is anti. Okay. She has gone over to, I don't even know what to call it. Maybe the dark side. I don't know what to call it, but she gone. She gone far away from Trump. Why? It all started with Epstein, y'all. That's it. It all started with mother-loving Epstein, period. It all started then, and it has continued to go on, okay? That's it, okay? That's it, y'all. We're going to come back to this. Hopefully it's going to be happening here soon. So actually, you know what? I take that back. They kind of tightened up and everything. So they're going to be happening. This is going to be happening very, very soon. Okay. Where is Venezuela? Santos. You're funny. Okay. Santos flow. But anyway, you guys have, this is absolutely crazy. But again, I want to say this too. With the whole Pete Hegseth situation, all right, Congress is actually calling it, and I'm telling you this too, it's both sides of the fence. Both sides of the political aisle are calling what Pete Hegseth allegedly did, okay? They're calling it, both sides are calling this a war crime. So this isn't a situation of, oh, this is just a bipartisan, this is one side versus the other. It's so super polarizing that, the Republicans are calling Democrats liars and the Democrats are calling Republicans liars. And all they're doing is pointing from across the aisle. No, people from both sides of the aisle are basically saying, yo, this is completely out of pocket. This is completely out of pocket. Okay. That's insane that they're both sides. People from both sides are saying that this is jacked up and wrong and illegal and is considered most definitely a war crime. Okay. Now, a lot of people are arguing the lack of transparency as well. Okay. There's no public footage of the second strike, no names, no official confirmation of the boat occupants' identities as well, which is also crazy. But they have footage. They're not showing it. You see what I'm saying? So again, this is all very, 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 very bad. This is not going to be good. And if this does happen and they get what they are requiring or demanding from the administration, this could open Pandora's box, y'all. It really could. Because at the end of the day, who's making the order? Who's making the decision to take somebody out by lethal force? And I mean the double tap. Obviously, there was the decision of hey, flying over, seeing the boat, taking them out. Okay, they've been doing that for a minute now. Okay, we've already heard countless reports of all that. But the fact that they circled back, saw 2 survivors, and double tapped, bad. And again, at the end of the day, this could be a situation that could be really, really bad. And of course, like I've said before, there are parties that are on both sides that are questioning the attacks, as they're questioning if the attacks are actually what they say they're doing. They actually question if these boats are actually transporting substances, illegal substances that are going to take out or, kill the American people. We all have questions. We're going to find out what's going on.
Apologize for my tardiness. We had some technical difficulties, as you could see, but I think we are ready to rock. So let's get to it. I'll begin this week with some scheduling announcements for President Trump's very busy week ahead. Tomorrow, President Trump will host his 9th cabinet meeting of the year alongside his incredible cabinet, who continue to deliver for the American people at a record pace. Later in the afternoon tomorrow, the president will make an announcement in the Oval Office on his initiative to create Trump accounts to give the next generation of Americans a jump start on savings. It will be a very exciting announcement indeed, especially for all of the parents across the country with young children and babies. On Thursday, President Trump will host the presidents of the Republic of Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo to sign the historic peace and economic agreement that he brokered. On Thursday night, the president and the first lady will celebrate one of America's greatest traditions, the lighting of the national Christmas tree on the ellipse. And on Friday, President Trump will attend the FIFA World Cup final draw at the Kennedy Center. You all will be seeing and hearing from the president every day this week. So you have me today, and then he will take on the rest of the week himself. Next, I would like to address the horrific tragedy that took place in our nation's capital last week. A foreign terrorist that the Biden administration failed to properly vet ambushed 2 members of the West Virginia National Guard who were honorably serving here to keep the residents and visitors of Washington, D.C. safe. U.S. Air Force Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf was severely wounded in the attack and remains hospitalized while he continues to fight for his life. Tragically, U.S. Army Specialist Sarah Beckstrom died of her wounds. She was just 20 years old. President Trump and the entire White House are praying for Andrew's full recovery at the request of his parents and their personal phone call with the president over the weekend. And we are keeping Sarah's family and friends in our prayers during this unimaginably difficult time. Sarah and Andrew represent the very best of America, 2 young patriots who were willing to put on the uniform and risk their lives in defense of their fellow Americans. Both of them truly embody the profound words spoken by Jesus Christ in the gospel. Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends. Sarah and Andrew are heroes, and we will never forget their sacrifice. That means ensuring the monster responsible for this atrocity is prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law and faces the most severe punishment possible. It also means reckoning with why this atrocity was allowed to happen in the first place, so that it may never occur again. Here are the facts. The terrorist who gunned down American soldiers blocks away from the White House in an ambush was an Afghan national who was flown into our country by Joe Biden's administration in September 2021 in the chaotic wake of their botched withdrawal from Afghanistan. One of the most embarrassing moments in the history of our great country. Joe Biden's historic failure in Afghanistan continues to haunt this country and our men and women in uniform. Not only did this surrender lead to a suicide bombing that killed 13 American heroes in Kabul, but now National Guard troops were shot on U.S. soil by the same kind of enemy. We continue to live with the deadly consequences of Joe Biden's horrific leadership. Nearly 100,000 Afghans were recklessly released into the United States with little to no vetting. There was no regard for the disorder and violence that this would unleash on American communities and American culture. Reportedly, thousands of these strangers and unknown individuals were flagged to the Biden administration for national security, public safety, and fraud concerns. But the terrifying truth is that the Afghanistan debacle is just a small part of Democrats' complete and total betrayal of the American people during the Biden years. The tragedy that we just witnessed the day before Thanksgiving is a reminder that untold thousands of terrorists, gang members, and criminals were invited into our country and remain here to this very day. The border is now secure, thanks to President Trump, but the threat in our interior remains real and urgent. These public safety threats are already inside our land. And President Trump was elected on a promise to find and remove them. And he has already taken significant steps and made significant progress towards fulfilling this promise. But there is more work to be done because President Trump believes that he has a sacred obligation to reverse the calamity of mass, unchecked migration into our country. As a result, the Trump administration is now actively re-examining all of the Afghans imported into the country by Joe Biden. Any individual who threatens our national security or our citizenry will be subject to removal. President Trump has already permanently paused migration of foreign nationals from third world countries that pose a very high risk to the United States. For too long, past American presidents supported self-destructive immigration policies that allowed foreigners who outright hate our country and have no interest in assimilating into our culture. They've allowed these individuals to flood peaceful American communities. This disastrous approach has drained our welfare program, driven up the cost of housing, suppressed wages, and jeopardized the safety of law-abiding American citizens. In fact, according to a new bombshell report from the New York Times, Somalian migrants in Minnesota have defrauded nearly $1 billion in taxpayer-funded benefits under Democrat Governor Walz's leadership. President Trump is putting an end to this dangerous America Last approach. His position is rooted in common sense. In the wake of last week's atrocity, it is more important than ever to finish carrying out the president's mass deportation operation. America cannot allow millions upon millions of unvetted illegal aliens to be rewarded with amnesty after they broke our nation's laws to come here. They must go back to their home countries. It is also essential to immediately address the massive fraud and corruption that has been going on for decades in other aspects of our immigration system, most notably when it comes to asylum claims. Millions of people who have come here under false pretenses are told blatant lies now enjoy temporary legal status. President Trump is ending this scam as well. And I would point out that the Democrats have tried to block this administration from doing so at every turn with lawsuit after lawsuit. The hard truth is that even when it comes to our legal immigration system, past presidents have failed to ensure that all prospective citizens love America, will add value and contribute to our communities, and will assimilate into our culture. Leaders have a duty to defend and advance the interests of their own people, not foreign nationals. Leaders also have a duty to preserve the integrity and character of our nation's national identity. That is why President Trump is more committed than ever to fully restoring American sovereignty by keeping our borders secure, removing all illegal alien invaders, and rebuilding a legal immigration system that makes sense and benefits our country. President Trump has no higher responsibility than to defend our homeland and our people, and he will never waver in doing so. With that, I will open it up to questions, and we'll lead today with Isabel Brown, who is in our new media seat. She's a very popular face on television these days. She's built a great independent media podcast and platform with the Daily Wire, and I appreciate your being here, Isabel. Thank you,
Caroline. Appreciate it and appreciate the briefing. Many Americans, in light of these recent events that you just mentioned, are starting to say that we are being invaded as a country, culturally and logistically, when it comes to immigration. And we know that immigration without assimilation is indeed invasion. So given the recent remarks from Vice President Vance on a college campus about dramatically reducing legal immigration to address some of this crisis, and President Trump's Truth Social post last week about individuals who may be non-compatible with Western civilization, are there any conversations happening or plans being made behind the scenes for the administration to implement at least a temporary immigration moratorium, for example, in light of what the American people might be calling for?
So, Isabel, it's a great question. I think I spoke a little bit to the heart of your question in my opener there. I would add that the Trump administration has done more to limit migration, both illegal and legal, than any administration in history. And I'll just walk you through some of the actions that we have taken thus far. Number one, the Trump administration issued a travel ban for 19 countries, including Afghanistan, special immigrant visas, which is a legal pathway to get here, which we know many Afghans have utilized to come into the country, have now been paused since the tragic shooting last week. Refugee admissions were suspended for Afghans from this administration on day one, and refugee admissions into the country right now are essentially at zero, with the exception of Afrikaners fleeing persecution in South Africa. The State Department has also heightened their scrutiny and vetting of all visas and have revoked visas, as you know, for those who do not align with our country's national interests. The Secretary of State has the right to do that, and we've taken unprecedented action to do just that. We are also now pausing all asylum adjudications for additional vetting as well. And so additional actions I don't have to read out for you today, but I would just remark that the president has made tremendous progress on this front, and it's why it's so crucial that we not only secure the borders, which the president did in record time. We have zero illegal aliens entering into the country month after month, but we also are taking a look at those who are already in the interior of our country and removing them if they are here illegally, and also taking a look at these visas. Again, having a visa in the United States is not a right, it is a privilege. And the Secretary of State, if you are deemed contrary to our country's foreign national interests, has the right to revoke that privilege. Thank you.
Everybody else is not allowed except for Afrikaners, South Africans, white South Africans, just so you know.
Okay. That second strike, that reported second strike on an alleged drug vote on September 2nd.
Unbelievable.
The secretary said to the president that didn't happen. But to clarify, I just wanted to clear this up. In his social media post, Secretary Hegseth didn't go into details about that strike. He just said U.S. operations in the area were lawful, and he said that the story and media reports were fabricated. So to be clear, does the administration deny that second strike happened, or did it happen and the administration denies that Secretary Hegseth gave the order?
The latter is true, Abe, and I have a statement to read for you here. President Trump and Secretary Hegseth have made it clear that presidentially designated narco-terrorist groups are subject to lethal targeting in accordance with the laws of war. With respect to the strikes in question on September 2nd, Secretary Hegseth authorized Admiral Bradley to conduct these kinetic strikes. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat to the United States of America was eliminated. And I would just add one more point to remind the American public why these lethal strikes are taking place. Because this administration has designated these narco-terrorists as foreign terrorist organizations. The president has a right to take them out if they are threatening the United States of America and if they are bringing illegal narcotics that are killing our citizens at a record rate, which is what they are doing. And under the previous administration, there was enough fentanyl trafficked into our country to kill every American man, woman, and child many times over. And so that's why you've seen a drastic difference in this administration's policy with respect to the last. And it's one of the many reasons the American public reelected this president and support this Secretary of War in conducting these strikes.
So to clarify, Admiral Bradley was the one who gave that order for a second strike.
And he was well within his authority to do so.
And a separate question, the president several days ago said it was his intention to pardon the former president of Honduras, who was a convicted drug trafficker. And yesterday on Air Force One, the president said that if someone sells drugs in that country, that doesn't mean you arrest the president and put him in jail for the rest of his life. How is that different than what the administration is accusing Venezuela's Nicolas Maduro of?
You're cherry picking the president's statement a little bit yesterday, as he also said yesterday the people of Honduras have highlighted to him how the former president Hernandez was set up. This was a clear Biden over prosecution. He was the president of this country. He was in the opposition party. He was opposed to the values of the previous administration, and they charged him because he was president of Honduras. There were some other egregious facts that came out during this trial, and I would encourage you to report on them. His court-appointed lawyer was only given 3 weeks to prepare for trial. He shared that his conviction was lawfare by the leftist party, who, quote, struck a deal with the Biden-Harris administration. Hernandez has highlighted there was virtually no independent evidence presented, and many of his conviction was based on testimony from many admitted criminals who hoped that cooperating would reduce their own penalties. So the president heard the concerns from many people, as he does, and he's, of course, within his constitutional authority to sign clemency for whomever he deems worthy of that. Jackie.
Thank you, Caroline. Following from Gabe's question, you said
Crazy.
that the
Crazy,
strike
y'all.
was lawful.
Crazy.
What law is it that allows no survivors?
The
Thank
strike conducted on September 2nd was conducted in self-defense to protect Americans in vital United States interests. The strike was conducted in international waters and in accordance with the law of armed conflict.
On this pardon for the Honduran president, does it at all undercut the administration's messaging while you have these congressional Republicans defending the strikes on the narco-terrorists and then a pardon for a convicted drug trafficker? Does that make it more difficult for
She ain't
Congress
comfortable.
to defend your administration's policy?
I don't think so, Jackie. I think that President Trump has been quite clear in his defense of the United States homeland to stop these illegal narcotics from
Self-defense.
coming to our borders, whether that's by land or by sea. And he's also made it quite clear that he wants to correct the wrongs of the weaponized Justice Department under the previous administration. And Ouija, I'll call on you because I think we're wearing matching blazers today.
I was going to
Great minds.
yours. Thank you, Caroline. So just to be clear, to clarify on Jackie and Gabe, did Admiral Bradley order that second strike because there were still survivors after the initial strike?
Again, as I read for you, Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law. He directed the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed and the threat of narco terrorists to the United States was completely eliminated.
So was the initial order from Secretary Hegseth, everyone be killed, and did that come from President Trump?
I saw that quoted in a Washington Post story. I would reject that the Secretary of War ever said that. However, the president has made it quite clear that if narco terrorists, again, are trafficking illegal drugs towards the United States, he has the authority to kill them. And that's what this administration is doing. Danny,
Up on the MRI, because President Trump yesterday said that he would release the results of his MRI. Is that happening right now?
it is happening right now. As part of, and this is a summary from the president's physician, and we will release it right now. I think my team has it teed up for all of you. I'll read it for you, and then you'll get it physically as well.
Hamburger.
As part of President Trump's comprehensive executive physical, advanced imaging was performed because men in his age group benefit from a thorough evaluation of cardiovascular and abdominal health. The purpose of this imaging is preventative, to identify any issues early, confirm overall health, and ensure the president maintains long-term vitality and function. President Trump's cardiovascular imaging was perfectly normal. No evidence of arterial narrowing impairing blood flow or abnormalities in the heart or major vessels. The heart chambers are normal in size, the vessel walls appear smooth and healthy, and there are no signs of inflammation or clotting. Overall, his cardiovascular system shows excellent health. His abdominal imaging is also perfectly normal. All major organs appear very healthy and well perfused. Everything evaluated is functioning within normal limits with no acute or chronic concerns. In summary, this level of detailed assessment is standard for an executive physical at President Trump's age and confirms that he remains in excellent overall health.
Brain.
Again, we will provide that to you. I think that's quite a bit of detail, and in the effort of transparency, the president promised it last night, and we have delivered today. So
Reporters ask about the brain.
Thanks, Caroline.
Brain?
Back to Venezuela. Can you confirm that President Trump is going to be hosting a meeting of his national security team in the Oval Office today on Venezuela? And what are they going to discuss? Are they hoping to reach a kind of final decision on that?
Out of the effort of transparency, I will confirm that the president will be meeting with his national security team on this subject and on many matters. He meets with his national security team quite often. He's the commander in chief. It's part of his responsibility to ensure that peace is ongoing throughout the world. I'm definitely not going to detail the specifics of a meeting between the president and his national security team that's taking place in the Oval Office, but I'm happy to confirm that meeting is taking place for you.
Can you tell us, is there still, what's the position on whether US troops on the ground is a possibility there? Is that, I know you've answered that before, but what's the current operative?
In Venezuela, I think my previous answer stands. There's many options at the president's disposal that are on the table, and I'll let him speak on those. Ed.
The U.S. announced a trade framework deal with the United Kingdom on pharmaceuticals, where they will pay 25% more, and the savings theoretically will go back to American consumers. What guarantees are in that savings will in fact go back to the American consumer and not be sucked up by the company?
I'm going to be honest with you, Ed. I'll get you the answer to that question after the briefing.
So the American Rescue Plan,
Sure.
so funded a number of universal income.
Kush will get you that answer, right, Kush? My trade guy over here.
The American Rescue Plan funded a number of universal basic income programs. Now Cook County, Illinois is extending that program into 2026 with $7.5 million of taxpayer money. What does the White House think about that?
I'll also get you an answer on that after the briefing. Ed.
Hope for two.
Go ahead. Sure. And then
in the interest of transparency, does the White House support releasing the Department of Defense's video of those September 2nd strikes on those military boats? And also, separate topic on presidential pardon power. Why did the president commute the sentence of David Gentile recently? He's a private exec private equity executive. He served 12 days out of a 7-year sentence. Prosecutor said he defrauded $1.6 billion with thousands of victims, including veterans, farmers, teachers. Why was he pardoned?
To your first question, that's definitely not a decision for me to make. I would defer you to the Department of War. It's also probably a decision for the president himself to make. As for your second question with respect to that pardon, he issued a commutation for Mr. Gentile, who's the former CEO and co-founder of GBP Capital Holdings. Unlike similar companies, GBP paid regular annualized distributions to its investors. In 2015, GBP disclosed to investors the possibility of using investor capital to pay some of these distributions rather than funding them from current operations. Even though this was disclosed to investors, the Biden Department of Justice claimed it was a Ponzi scheme. This claim was profoundly undercut by the fact that GBP had explicitly told investors what would happen. At trial, the government was unable to tie any supposedly fraudulent representations to Mr. Gentile. In short, again, this is another example that has been brought to the president's attention of a weaponization of justice from the previous administration, and therefore he signed this commutation.
So say that these people were defrauded.
I just read you a very detailed summary of why the commutation was made. Sure. In the middle with the red tie.
Thank you, Caroline.
Okay, Andrew, go ahead, and then you.
In wake of Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor
Go ahead,
Greene's early resignation, reports last week indicated that other House Republicans might consider doing the same. Does the president have any concerns in light of those reports about other House Republicans potentially leaving early, as well as the other announced retirements that we saw in the last couple of days?
Look, I think the president maintains very good relationships with the vast majority, maybe with the exception of one or two. I think many in this room know who I'm referring to. Very good relationships with members of Capitol Hill within the Republican Party. And the president clearly is the unequivocal leader of the Republican Party. I think it was a recent CNN poll that actually showed that more than 90% of Republicans continue to support President Trump as the leader. So he maintains very good relations, as does his entire team here at the White House. And of course, we have a very slim margin in the House, and the president wants that to continue. Andrew, go ahead. Sure.
First, on the Venezuela strike, you said that second strike was in full accordance with the law of armed conflict, but the Navy's own manual of law of war says that specifically firing on survivors from a wrecked vessel is an example of a war crime that's forbidden under U.S. law and the law of armed conflict. So how was that second strike in following the law of armed conflict and then second on immigration?
Again, Andrew, I would reiterate to you the strike was conducted in international waters and in accordance with the law of armed conflict. And since somebody asked about Congress, and it's sort of related to Venezuela, I also want to add that Secretary Hegseth spoke with members of Congress who may have expressed some concerns over the weekend. And there have also been 13 bipartisan briefings to Congress on the Venezuelan strikes. There have been a number of document reviews for members of Congress to review the classified DOJ Office of Legal Counsel opinion and other related documents. 29 senators and 92 representatives have reviewed those documents, which is about 2/3 of those are Democrat members, and they have been made available to all 100 senators, all 435 members of the House, and to general counsels of the relevant committees on a bipartisan basis for their review.
On immigration, during your topper, you said, and I quote, "Leaders also have a duty to preserve the integrity and character of our nation's national identity." Can you explain what you mean by our nation's national identity and integrity and character, and how would refugees, people coming from war-torn places who are seeking a safe haven in America, like many of our forebears in this room, not add to our nation's integrity and character of our national identity?
I'll tell you what does not add to our nation's character and integrity is refugees who come here under the alleged plight of asylum and fleeing persecution, and then come to the United States to abuse our system and rip off American taxpayers. And as I pointed out, the New York Times, to their credit, it was about 6 months too late, but they did write about how Somali immigrants in Minnesota have been ripping off American taxpayers. In fact, 86 people have been charged in a rampant and widespread fraud scheme spanning multiple programs in Minnesota. Of those 86, 78 of those people are Somali, 91% of them charged. So far, 59 of those people have been convicted for their roles in fraud plots that have stolen $1 billion from taxpayers. In one scheme, and this is egregious, a nonprofit and its affiliates with these Somali migrants claimed to have fed tens of thousands of American children during the pandemic. They were reimbursed for those meals by taxpayers. However, federal prosecutors found that almost all of those meals were never even delivered to hungry children. In fact, those organizations' leaders spent the money on houses, luxury cars, and real estate in Turkey and Kenya. Another scheme involved hundreds of organizations who were reimbursed for services that were supposed to help people at risk of homelessness. Once again, those services were never provided. All of this has happened under Democrat leadership in a Democrat-run state where these refugees, these migrants are coming to the United States. They are abusing our system. They are draining our resources that should be going to law-abiding, taxpayer-funded, tax-paying Americans. And this president is not going to put up with it anymore. Rachel.
Wow.
Caroline.
Wow.
On the Washington Post reporting, so much of the concern from Democrats and Republicans is focused on the survivors. Why won't the administration either confirm or deny or reveal whether or not there were survivors after that initial first strike? And what imminent threat would two survivors pose who were clinging presumably to the wreckage of that boat?
Again, as I said, I think you guys are sort of not listening fully to the statement I've provided. Admiral Bradley worked well within his authority and the law, directing the engagement to ensure the boat was totally destroyed and the threat to the narco-terrorists to the United States was eliminated. And for any further questions about his thinking, I would defer you to the Department of War. I obviously wasn't in the room for these.
Just to follow up, Caroline, just on the administration's policy when it comes to survivors, was
just
there a
getting uncomfortable.
change in policy after this strike on September 2nd? The Washington Post is reporting that these two survivors were killed after a second strike, but then in October, two people were rescued and returned to Colombia and Ecuador. So was there a decision that was made to handle survivors differently after these strikes?
Not to my knowledge, no. Steve.
The president confirmed that he spoke to the Venezuelan leader. Are you trying to negotiate his departure? Is there an asylum deal under works?
President, as you know, last night on Air Force One, he said, I don't want to comment on that, but I did speak to him in the effort of transparency. So there you go. You got your confirmation. I'll let him speak further if he wishes to on the details of that conversation that took place.
Steve Witkoff is headed to Moscow. How close are you to some sort of Ukraine agreement?
I think the administration feels very optimistic. Obviously, you've seen, Steve, that the president's entire team, including Special Envoy Witkoff and Secretary Rubio and the vice president and the president himself, Secretary Hegseth as well, have been working so hard on this effort, and they all really want to see this war come to an end. And so just yesterday, Sunday, I believe that was yesterday, they had very good talks with the Ukrainians in Florida, and now, of course, Special Envoy Witkoff is on his way to Russia. This is sort of the shuttle diplomacy that you've seen from this administration play out, where we speak equally with both sides. We've put points on paper. Those points have been very much refined, but as for the details, I will let the negotiators negotiate, but we do feel quite good, and we're hopeful that this war can finally come to an end. Stephen.
Thank you, Caroline. I've got a question about Ukraine and then a clarification about the immigration changes that are happening. On Ukraine, President Trump very briefly yesterday said that corruption issues there were not helpful to the peace process following the resignation on Friday of President Zelensky's top aide, Andrei Yermak. We were told from your podium in the prior administration that, quote, there is no indication that there's been any kind of widespread corruption involving U.S. resources in Ukraine. What is the Trump administration's view of corruption issues in the wake of Yermak's resignation, and how is that impacting case folks?
Well, look, I think the president has made it quite clear, as he said last night, corruption is never helpful. And he does not want to see American tax dollars taken advantage of, which is why he has stopped the endless checks that were being written by the previous administration to fund this war. The United States is selling weapons to NATO that are being sent to Ukraine. That's a very different thing than the American people writing blank checks to a war effort very far away. It does not degrade the administration's determination to see this war come to an end, but I think it exemplifies the president's desire to always put the American people and the American taxpayer first.
On immigration, you mentioned, or you emphasized that there would be a review of the Afghans who were resettled here under the previous administration.
Yes.
There's a lot of changes happening right now to asylum and to green card holders. What should the 2 million people with pending asylum claims, or the roughly 1 million people from the 18 other countries of concern, know about what's going on in the review? What's the status of all these other people?
They're essentially paused for review, and the Department of Homeland Security is taking this very seriously, because we are not going to allow soldiers like we saw in American streets last week to be gunned down at the hands of these foreign nationals who had the privilege of coming to the United States of America. And unfortunately, this is not the only example of a dangerous Afghan who was let in by Joe Biden, who went on to harm the American people. There was an Afghan national who was let into the country under the Biden administration through Operation Allies Welcome, who shot and wounded 2 Fairfax, Virginia police officers during a routine traffic stop. He was killed by return fire after declaring, quote, "I should have served with the explicitive Taliban." 2 Afghan nationals were given legal status by the Biden administration as well, who were arrested and prosecuted for plotting a terrorist attack in Oklahoma just before Election Day in 2024. We all remember that. They possessed hundreds of rounds of ammunition and had pledged their allegiance to ISIS. There was also an Afghan national who was on the terror watch list, who was apprehended by Border Patrol in 2024, but then he was released into our country by the Biden administration. Again, let's just highlight the absurdity of that. Border Patrol apprehended a terrorist, and then the Biden administration, because of their lax policies, still allowed him to come into the United States of America. I think everyone in this room, whether you want to admit it or not, does not want that individual living alongside you in your American neighborhood. And that individual was later arrested again after being allowed to live in the U.S. at large for over a year. Another one, a criminal illegal alien from Afghanistan, was arrested by ICE in 2025, convicted of second-degree assault, was previously allowed to stay in the country by the Biden administration. I have several more examples here. I'm happy to provide them to anyone in this room. John.
Thank you, Caroline. First of all, happy Thanksgiving to
Thank you.
and your young family. Hope you enjoyed it. I have 2 questions unrelated. The first, back to Afghanistan. My son and I walked by the horrific shooting less than 1 hour before it happened. So for anybody that's here, this thing's real. You outlined all of these unvetted Afghans that were let in by Biden. We just had one the other day that was going to blow up a DHS building. Can you be specific on what the Trump administration is doing now to re-vet those that are here so that we
Good
don't
question.
get a repeat of what we had Wednesday night?
Good question.
I can tell you 2 top-level things, and I would defer you to DHS for more of the specifics, as of course they are leading this effort. And I can assure you Secretary Noem is on the ball. I've spoken with her and her team, and they have an all-hands-on-deck effort to having resources go towards this. But we have paused all asylum adjudications. And then, of course, the special immigrant visas, which we know many Afghans utilize to come into the country under the Biden administration, have also now been paused. And I would just point out one more time that the Biden administration was responsible for the original sin that led to this tragic killing last week, the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan. He was responsible for Operation Allies Welcome, which is something that this White House and the people behind this podium in the last administration fully and wholeheartedly embraced. And they assured the American people there would be no risk or no harm to them. And as I just laid out for you in those many examples, that unfortunately and tragically has not turned out to be the truth. Just ask the families of these 2 brave National Guardsmen, one who is no longer with us and one who continues to fight for his life. So I know the president is wholeheartedly focused on this effort. And I think, unfortunately, these events do remind us why it's so important that the president's mass deportation operation continues. With that, sure.
Follow up. The White House today launched a new fake news portal, which I found interesting. What is your objective with that ultimately? And are you going to name the news networks? And are you also going to name some of the correspondents, some which may be here today?
Yes, we are. I'm glad you noticed, much to the dismay of some of your colleagues in the room, John. And I think it goes to our original promise on day one to hold the media accountable, because unfortunately, and we deal with this all day, every day around here, there are so many fake stories that are unfortunately written that have inaccurate characterizations of meetings that took place. And it's all based on anonymous sourcing. And, you know, the standard for journalism, unfortunately, has dropped to such a historic low in this country. And again, we deal with it every day, where you can have an anonymous source who has no idea what they're talking about, zero credibility, call up a reporter in Washington and say, hey, I heard this. And then the next thing you know, it's on the front page of the New York Times. It's really incomprehensible. We appreciate the journalists, some of those who are in this room who do reach out for comment, who try to get things right. And there are some that remain. But overwhelmingly, the fake news that we see pumped out of this building on a day-to-day basis, it's honestly overwhelming to keep up with it all. And to constantly have to defend against these fake news and these attacks. And I will point out one fake news story over the weekend before I let you all go, from the New York Times that took about 1/3 of the president's daily calendar and his daily schedule and said that he's doing less than he did in his first term, or he might not be fit for the job. That is unequivocally false. And it's deeply unfortunate that this story was written by the same outlet and the same reporter who wrote this: Biden is doing 100% fine after tripping while boarding Air Force One. Oh, same outlet, same reporter who wrote that President Trump is not fit for the job. Are you kidding me? You all see him almost every single day. He is the most accessible president in history. He is taking meetings around the clock. Another one. Biden declared, quote, healthy and vigorous after his first presidential physical. I don't see headlines like that too often about this president. Again, same reporter, same outlet who wrote falsely over the weekend that President Trump is not fit for the job. I can assure you he absolutely is. You all see that with your own eyes on a daily basis, and the president's physician has now given you all 3 detailed reports on the state of the president's health. So with that, I will leave you all, and we'll see you tomorrow.
You didn't say nothing about brain. You didn't say not a damn thing about brain. You said his heart. Cool. Said other, but you didn't say not nothing about his brain. Okay. We just want to know what's going on with his brain. We are living in the wildest time ever. I just want to make that abundantly clear. First off, please hit that like button down below. Okay. Crush it. Please and thank you. I'd love to get it like past 600 likes. That would really be appreciated. Okay. It helps the show, helps us do what we do. Hit that like button down below. Don't forget to subscribe. We got to talk. We got to talk about this. Okay, guys? Because there's a lot that's being said, and it's very frustrating because I might have to try to find when she was saying, when she was taking the questions. Oh, my dear Lord. Yeah, the perfect pause right there. Just side-eyeing. Just. So here's the thing. All right. So, of course, we already know about, first off, there's a lot of things that they talked about. Everything from the attack that happened on the National Guards to the Honduras president, ex-president being pardoned and let go. Okay, which is an oxymoron if you really think about it. It is definitely opposite day when it comes to that ex-president being pardoned. He should be looked at as a Terry himself, but he's not being looked at as a Terry. He gets pardoned. But we're going to talk about that here in a second, okay? Then, of course, they talked about the strike that happened, all right? The Venezuelan boats that were hit, okay? At the, and of course, Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, was spearheading that whole situation, all right? So you got all that, okay? And a bunch of other things, okay? Because there's something about Somalia that I didn't know, okay? I didn't know about that. But there's so much, oh my God, there's so much going on. So let me explain this here really quick. Let's talk about the fact that they are cutting off immigration, all right? They're cutting off immigration to third world countries, all third world countries. Now, they're cutting off immigration for a lot of various countries, not only just third world countries, but majority of them are third world countries. Let's just be real. Now, one thing that she did say is, oh, we've cut off, the likes of, let's see, hold on. I have it here. Hold on. Where the heck is it? Let's see. Where is it? Ah, shoot. I thought I had it. Hold on. Sorry, y'all. 1 second. I thought I had it. Hold on. Yes. Okay. So pardoning the like he's basically cutting off green cards. Okay, the orders of green cards from Somalia, other countries. Okay, but then he's cutting them off to 18 other countries. Okay, so President Trump is now ordering that Somali green cards, along with green cards issued to 18 other countries of concern, be re-examined. But what's crazy is that not only is it Somalia and these other countries, 18 countries of concern, which is like the likes of Haiti and Afghanistan and the like. She just said out loud, every place except for South Africa. We have a ban going on for all of these countries except for the Afrikaans in South Africa. Let me just make this abundantly clear. South Africa, the Afrikaans over there, they are Caucasian. Okay? They are white. So again, very interesting. Hey, and I'm just spitting the facts. Just letting you know. This isn't just other brown and black people, or other races, okay, trying to find refuge and trying to seek asylum here in America. No. Yes, this is Musk land. This is Elon Musk land. All the white people there can seek refuge here in America, but not them brown and blacks. She said it out of her own mouth. I know some of y'all are going to get mad. Well, that's not true, Pascal. It is. She said it with her own freaking mouth. Live on air. 18 countries. 18 countries as of quote unquote concern, everyone. The likes of Somalia, Haiti, Afghanistan, bunch of other countries as well. But Afrikaners, they're good to go. They can come on over. They're good to go. But everybody else, no. That seems a little bit weird, don't you think? Sorry, she said it, not me. You could do the reverse math and go, oh, wait, the Afrikaan. Oh, damn. Damn. So she means, oh, damn. They're not even saying it. They're not even keeping the quiet part quiet. Okay. We all been known this crap, though. Okay. We already been known this crap. All right. So here's the thing. This is what's going on. We got a couple of things we're going to break down. We're going to look at this Somalia thing, though, first, since we're already talking about it, because that's the first thing I caught. I was like, well, among a million other things that I caught, by the way, okay, this wasn't the only thing that I caught with what she was saying. All right. But there was a lot of things in here that I'm like, say what? Say what? Say what? Say what? Say that again? What? Okay. We're going to get to the Pete Hegseth stuff here in just a second, but I want you guys to see this article. I was just reading from it, but I'm going to read it to you guys here too. And that's why they were talking about this whole Somalia thing. They were asking about all this, right? And so she was basically reading off a piece of paper talking about all this, right? So President Trump orders green cards from Somalia and other countries of concern to be re-examined. So now he's thinking that any person from any third world country or any person that is seeking asylum outside of Afghanistan even is now considered a potential threat, that they could possibly be radicalized while they're in the middle of getting processed and getting asylum here in America, etc. So now it's not only just, all right, Afghanistan asylum seekers should be re-examined. Now he's like, no, we need to look at all of them, every single last one of them. The enemies are everywhere. And they could be radicalized while they're here too. Now and we're going to talk about the fact that that individual was Ramanullah Lakanwal was radicalized while in America. We're going to talk about that. We're going to tap into that in just a little bit, okay? That he could be radicalized, like Sonny just said on YouTube, from within. That is possible. And yes, it is possible that there could be other people other asylum seekers, other people that are trying to get in, become American citizens here, etc. They all could be radicalized, but that you could say the same doggone thing about any American-born person here too that can get radicalized. We've seen it a multitude of times. We've already seen that. But I digress. Let's continue here. We've seen American Terrys on American soil, okay, do stuff. Let's look at Thomas Cook, right? Remember that mother lover? He was on a slopey roof. Remember him? Remember Butler, Pennsylvania? Got on top of a roof, took aim, missed Trump by, well, he didn't miss him technically, but, he missed him by nanometers. I don't even know. You know what I mean? Remember that? Radicalized. American. Just so you know. So, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. Shoot, we don't even know about Tyler Robinson. We don't know about that story. We don't know the full story. Was he radicalized? Was he just somebody who has a serious mental health issue? We don't know. Was it really him? Was it the furry trans boyfriend that did it? We don't know, right? But nonetheless, pretty crazy stuff. And those were two American men. Okay? All right, we're on the same page there. So look at this. President Trump is now ordering Somali green cards, along with green cards issued to 18 other countries of concern to be re-examined. It is the latest move made by the president threatening the legal status of hundreds of Somali people in Minnesota, an issue that a right-wing activist claims came to his attention due to an article he co-authored. So, Mr. Trump's green card related order came down Thursday after officials said an Afghan national shot and critically took the lives he took the life of one National Guard, and of course the other one's critically injured right now as we speak. Okay, that evening in his address to the nation, the president pivoted to criticizing Minnesota's Somali population. Hundreds of thousands of Somalians are ripping off our country and ripping apart that once great state. So these Somalians that are moving over to Minnesota, he's alleging is destroying that state. Somalians, okay? He made a similar claim without evidence in a post on Truth Social this past weekend. In that message, he said he would terminate temporary protected status, TPS, for Somalis in Minnesota, an action he does not have the power to take on his own. That call is ultimately up to Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, who said there was no timeline yet on ending TPS for Somalis during a visit to Minneapolis. Okay? That happened on Sunday, but today we're still having that conversation, right? And yes, it's up to Homeland Security, Secretary of Homeland Security, to make that decision. It's not up to Trump to do that. She has to make that choice, which, by the way, I wouldn't be surprised if she actually does, go and do what at his bidding, because it is Trump. And of course, if she says no, she's going to get fired. Let's keep it real. All right. So again, not only just Somali, okay, not just Somali green cards, 18 other countries where people are trying to seek asylum, seek refuge, whatever you want to call it, just move to this country for better opportunities, God knows what, right? They're all going to be halted, blocked, stopped, re-examined. So now, because of what ramen noodle, okay, for lack of a better term, for what Raman Nula did, okay, 18 other countries are going to be blocked off from being able to come and seek refuge, seek asylum, seek life here in America because of some butthole doing that disgusting, monstrous thing in broad daylight in Washington, D.C. Think about that for a second. Yeah, ramen noodle. We're going to call him ramen noodle now. Piece of trash. Shouldn't have done what he did. Okay? But now, for what he did, other people who are seeking refuge here in this country are getting punished for that. Because now they're instantly being looked at as potential threats. Now, here's the other thing, too. Let me repeat this. She said out loud, all of these countries are not allowed. They're going to be stopped and they're going to be re-examined before they're let into this country. So it's going to be even more, I'm sure, more severe, more intense vetting, or it might just get flat out, no, you're not allowed to be here. Bye. Bye-bye. You got to turn around. Bye. Sorry. Try Canada, though. They're nice. They keep their front doors open. And have you had maple syrup? Girl, going up to Canada. Try you some maple syrup. You won't turn around. You'll stay right there. Right? That's what's going on right now. All because ramen noodle lost his noodle, okay? And pulled the trigger doing what he did. Oh, but let's not forget. I'm sorry. Afrikaners, you good. Come on in. The water's fine. Okay? The water's just nice and white hot. Just super white hot. See what I did there? White. Hot. Just saying. Okay? Just saying. You black and brown? You have a very hard last name to pronounce? We're going to examine your ass. Okay? But you other white Afrikaners, come on in. You'll be just fine. Oh, and all you got to say is you related to the Musk family and you Gucci, baby. Ain't that interesting? No one sees that as strange. Am I the only one that sees that and says something's weird about that? This also recalls in the recesses of my mind, okay? This also reminds me of a time, it's funny I say, it reminds me of a time back in the day when two cities came together. Charles Dickens stories. No, this also reminds me of an interview just recently that Elon Musk's dad had. You heard about that? You seen that little clip where they're talking about, somebody says, the interviewer that's interviewing the dad says something along the lines of, oh, did you know that in just a few decades times or something like that, white people will become the minority of this country, of America. And his reaction was, that's not good. That's not good news. That's not good. That's not good at all. Hold on. We're going to take a very swift, quick trip down memory lane. I don't even remember his dad's name. Okay. Elon Musk's dad. What's his name? Son of a gun. I forgot his name. I just put in Elon Musk's dad. Let's put that there. Let's see. Is it Elon Musk? Elon Musk? Yes. Hold on. Here it is. There it is. Is it right here? Yes. Let me show this to you guys. This is absolutely knuckin' futz. But if you're, and he's, his family's from South Africa. Okay. They're Afrikaners. But I want you guys to see this. Okay. I want you guys to see this. It says here, and this is from a tweet from Breaking 911, but they said CNN, okay, so the blah, blah, blah. America in the next 20 years will become a minority white country. Elon Musk's dad says that will be a very, very bad thing to happen. You want to see the U.S. go dark? You know the last time I ever heard that phrase? When something goes dark? I got a story to tell y'all. It's insane. We're going to talk about that in a second. So why? Do you want to go back to the jungle? First off, oh, don't worry. There's a clip. I want you guys to hear it from the horse's mouth himself. Errol, say again.
The big concern at the moment, and why I think South Africa is a big talking point in the US right now, is America in the next 20 years will become, for the first time in its history, a minority white country.
Well, that will be a very, very bad thing to happen.
Really now?
You want to see the US go down? Why? Oh, you don't like cars and electric cars, and you don't like technology, or what is it? You want to go back to the jungle, or?
If the US becomes a minority white country.
Yes.
So there's Latinas, there's blacks, there's people from all different races make.
By the way, he's not saying, no. He's not saying Guns N' Roses welcome to the jungle, okay? Like, he's not saying, welcome to the jungle. No, he's not talking about that, okay? You're in the jungle, baby. No, he's not talking about that one. That sounds like a lot of fun, apparently. Okay, that jungle sounds like fun, okay? You know, very 80s style, a lot of cocaine, all that stuff. But he's not saying that. No. He's going straight up, full-blown, full tilt, pedal to the metal, racist. Yeah. No, he's not talking about that. No, he's not doing that. No Guns N' Roses up in this mug, okay? No.
Up the majority, and then, you know, it could be 48% white people. Do you really think the US is doomed if it goes under?
Yes, it goes under there.
Seriously?
Yes, of course. You see, if you take South Africa, we have a small white population that projects European culture.
Oh my God, I can't finish this. No. I'm gonna finish it though, because you need to hear the truth. You need to hear the truth that's coming out of people's mouths. Okay, these are conversations that shouldn't be on microphones. These are conversations that shouldn't be on camera. These are conversations that you have with the you know the crazy uncle or the great grandfather in his nursing home while he's still like dookying in his diapers, okay, in his Depends, all right, and going, I can't wait to get my mouth around some green Jello. I hope it's lime today. But no, this is on camera. Elon Musk daddy. Oh, remember his salute? That everybody's like, no, he was just throwing his heart to everybody. Remember that ish? This is coming out of this man's mouth right here. I'm sorry I said it. And yes, I'm going to yell because this stuff angers me because we're seeing it in real time. Real time, y'all. Real time.
Or what we learned from Europe.
And oppressed millions of black people.
No.
For decades.
How do you oppress? We gave them work. We fed them. They grew from a tiny little group into a massive group. That's not oppression. That's feeding them. Do you understand? You only grow big if you get fed. You only start at 800 and become 50 million if you get fed. We fed them, for crying out loud. You know, enough with this nonsense.
But so you understand, because the black population was so oppressed under apartheid.
Well, we never saw this oppression you're talking about.
You never saw it.
No, I never saw it.
Of course you didn't. Of course you didn't. Your life was whitewashed. And I mean that literally and metaphorically speaking. Okay. But you heard that. You heard that, okay? You heard that. All right? These are the conversations. This came out of his mouth. Right there. Right there. Just a quick trip down memory lane, just so you can see it. I know it's racist. It's racist as hell. Basically saying that any culture and any race outside of white wouldn't be able to transpire, wouldn't be able to level up. He literally said in the very beginning, let's not forget, what, you don't like electric cars? You don't like the advancement in technology and in ways of life, science and all that, science and technology and way of life? He basically is saying if the country, US, becomes less white and more brown and black, and that, say, the white community becomes a minority, that there goes the neighborhood. That there's no possibility of there being, I don't know, let's just be real, like a Wakanda. Yeah, I know it's a comic book. Okay? I know it is. All right. But who's to say that that can't be possible? Okay? And you mean to tell us the way that we're living, the way of life that we're living right now is great? I beg to differ, sir. I beg to differ. There's so much to dissect in that video. We ain't got time for it today. But like I said, feels like you're at that nursing home with that, the old timey great granddad or the granddad. Okay. And he just doesn't know. He doesn't remember what year he's in. That dementia's kicked in hard. See what I'm saying? So yeah, I just wanted to point that out. South African. Those people are allowed to come over here. But anybody who's black and brown, nope, you're not. Okay? Shut off for right now. Your stuff is being re-examined. Everybody else as well. But then except for those Elon Musketeers. All right? Y'all are all allowed to come in. Ain't that wild? That's something interesting. Now, we have got to talk about this whole situation with Pete Hegseth. All right. Which obviously has a lot to do in a whole conversation about what's going on with Venezuela. Now, Venezuela apparently has a lot of stuff going for them. Not only is it Fenty, allegedly, and other substances, but they got a whole lot of oil. Yeah. Let's not forget. Venezuela got a whole lot of oil. A lot of it. And some people are looking at this and side-eyeing this whole situation and wondering, could it be that Trump is trying to get his hands on that oil? Let's not forget what he said in his second term, his run for second term. He said, we're going to drill, baby, drill. That's what we're going to do. We're going to drill. That's what we're going to do. We're going to drill. Drill, baby, drill. That's what he's been saying. He's drilling here in America, allegedly. But he's like, oh, wait, hold up. Look over here. Venezuela, though. Not Middle East, but Venezuela's right there, though. And they got a whole lot of oil. Whole lot of oil. So what is the possibility of them saying, hey, let us just make up some stuff. Let's just say that these boats that are traveling north to America is not filled with possible, like, people. You don't know. Let's say it's substances. Let's say it's Fenty. Let's say it's yayo. Let's say it's anything else, right? And we start striking. And we make our presence known in that area. Make sure not to F with us. And start to infiltrate. Scare them to the point where they're willing to drop, I don't know, the price per gallon of oil so we can get it all. Or let's just invade altogether and take over. Overthrow the president of Venezuela and take that place for our own. Wouldn't that be interesting now? Here's the thing. Here's the problem. With those strikes that we've been seeing, that has been reported, and all the ones that you've seen, all those black and white videos of things that look like boats that are just going boom in the water, all those videos. A lot of people are pushing back and wondering if the actual stuff that's on the boat, if there's actually anything on the boats, if there's actually pounds and pounds of Fenty, pounds and pounds of substances that shouldn't be moved over towards America, that is taking the lives of our children, right? They've been saying that. That's what they've been putting out here. In fact, I'm going to quote what she just said in this press conference. She said, in defense of the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth's decisions, and let's not forget the Admiral Frank M. Bradley. Let's not forget about Frank M. Bradley here, who reportedly ordered that second strike, taking out those survivors that were still in the water, holding on to debris. All right. He's basically saying, according to Trump, or Caroline Leavitt is saying, according to Trump, that everything that they did falls within the laws of armed conflict, and that these people that were moving their boats up and down and getting basically nuked out of the water are narco terrorists. And so he has, quote unquote, he has the authority to kill them. She said that. It was self-defense. She claims it to be self-defense. This all falls in the laws of armed conflict. They were terrorists, narco-terries, and he has the authority to kill them all if he wants to. That's it. Now, here's the thing, though. In the act of war, and of course, the laws of armed conflict, from what we understand and what we've gathered, when it comes to survivors of an actual attack, you must let them be either saved, or you take them in as, if this is an act of war, as POWs, as prisoners of war. In fact, if you're going back and you're doing this double tap, this is the whole conversation, the double tap attack, the double tap strike, you could be potentially taking out people who are just trying to render aid to those survivors. That is a massive problem as well when it comes to this whole situation, okay? When it comes to this whole situation where you got people on a boat, that the boat gets completely obliterated, two survivors are hanging off to the side of the boat just trying to survive. They're not shooting anybody. They're not taking anybody down. They're not doing anything nefarious or dangerous. They will probably succumb to their own injuries or, succumb to the water if the boat or whatever does not hold, right? But no, they swing back and they gaboosh again, just to make sure that those two men that were trying to survive are gone, completely annihilated. And they're saying that that was part within the laws of war, within the laws of armed conflict, where you got other people who are definitely pushing back and saying, nope, this is not right. When you have an order of annihilate them all, that is not within the confines of the law of armed conflict. Let me remind you guys, okay? It's very important that when a situation like this was happening, obviously they were in the middle of the water. It was in international waters. I get that part too. Yes, there probably weren't any other civilians in the area because it's the water, but you got to remember, people could be going back to try to help them, render aid. Also, those people, like I said, you could basically say that they were surrendering. That's what people are going to be arguing about. And that's what people are going to be arguing and talking about for a good long time until either these charges or these claims get dropped and they get moved on, or we move on to a bigger topic, another bigger problem, or he gets hit with some sort of war crime. I truly think that this is a war crime. I don't think it is he has the authority to just take them all out. And this falls within the laws of armed conflict, and that this was self-defense. Where was the self-defense? Think about that. You already hit the target. The target was destroyed. These guys are just holding on to the side of a boat. Where's the self-defense after that? Think about it. Think about it. Doesn't matter if you agree or no. Okay? And again, it's good. It could be a moral situation. It could be, or it could not be a moral situation. But that is something that I find to be very, very interesting. Then also the fact that we may be going in, because she did not give us a straight answer about like where we're going as far as the trajectory of possibility of war, right? That maybe there is an act of war that's actually, it's already happening if you really think about it. Some will sit there and look at this as an act of war, as a declaration of war. You're flying over, you see these boats, and you just keep on taking them out, right? That's not good. Again, if there truly is fentanyl and other deadly substances on those boats that they're annihilating, all right. But they have not shown us proof of that at all. And what's also crazy is that with this particular double tap situation where Pete Hegseth and others could very well be hit with charges of war crimes or for straight up M, okay? They have not released the footage. Have we heard that before? Them withholding information? Oh, we don't have that. That's somehow that got taken out. I don't know where that is. Shoot, have you seen it? I'm looking everywhere I can, and damn, I can't seem to find the clip that you're talking about. That's so crazy. Man, that's how we keep on losing things. First thing it was Epstein's files, and now we got this video that we can't seem to find. That is crazy. I had it on a thumb drive somewhere. I swear to God. Hold up. You see it? Because I ain't got it. That's what's happening now too. Why not just put out the information and be done? You see, the patterns that we're seeing, the breadcrumbs, and we keep on seeing the repeated approach to situations. Oh, we don't have it. What video clip? We don't have that. I'm sorry. No, we don't have that clip. What clip are you looking for again? Man, we got so many clips here. What are you looking for? Oh, word. Yeah, we don't have that. Somewhere. Got lost somewhere. That's insane. Like, I feel like back in the day, we were better. We were like a lot better. The government, at least, was a lot better at covering things up. They were a lot more stealthy with the stuff. Now, it's just really straight up in our faces, right? Straight up in our faces. It's strange. Now, Kimberly, yeah, this whole thing did happen in international waters. Will that play a part in this whole situation? Does maritime law have something to do with helping Pete Hegseth and the likes of the admiral and Trump himself? Okay. Does that help him? Does it or no? We don't know, right? But one thing's for sure, you have bipartisan approach, bipartisan reaction that are the same. You have Republicans and Democrats alike reacting to this situation and saying, no, this is wrong. This is illegal. And these guys should be brought to should feel the full extent of the law. Real talk. Real talk. Because at the end of the day, if you really think about this, okay, this could set a very dangerous precedent, okay? You got a designated group that they're saying that they're calling narco terrorists, right? Okay. Then you treat suspected smugglers as combatants, even without evidence of a trial, without evidence or a trial. I'm sorry. Imagine that. They're just saying that these boats are filled with stuff and they're going kaboom, 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 kaboom. Have we seen proof positive of that? I'm just saying, guys, we got to use our brains. Start asking the questions. Are we seeing proof positive of those things? We don't see them standing. Have you seen this yet? I haven't yet. Seen absolute proof positive that every single boat that's leaving that area is carrying weight, is moving weight, if you get what I'm saying. Right? Like I said, without evidence or without a trial, okay? It worries me because, today it's boats that are moving substances, okay? That yayo, that Fenty, that whatever, right? What's going to happen tomorrow? Could this augment into migrants, refugees, shoot, even activists? Think about that for a second, guys. We have to sit here and take what they say at face value. And we're in a world right now where all we've been getting has not been truth. We've been getting a peppering, a very light seasoning of truths. And we don't have that. Oh, it's somewhere else. A lot of, look over there, but not over here. A lot of Kansas City shuffle, where they make us look left while they're going right. Something doesn't feel right to me, y'all. It doesn't. It just doesn't feel right. But let's move on. So we talked about the Pete Hegseth, which I'm side-eyeing the hell out of it. I'm going to be real. I'm side-eyeing the hell out of that situation. But we got to talk a little bit about this whole, not only just the effect, like we just talked about the effect of this attack that happened in Washington, D.C., but what about what could possibly happen in the near future with the National Guard after all this? Let's not forget, Trump and Pete Hegseth said that they're bringing in 500 troops into D.C. They're augmenting the presence of the NG in Washington, D.C. Instead of being like, this is wrong, this is terrible, let's dig into all of the Afghani asylum seekers, all the immigrants that we do have here that worked alongside other CIA agents, and the CIA out there for the zero units, and do a deep dive into every single last one of them, because there's hundreds of them, okay, that were brought in and were given asylum here in America through the Biden administration, which is very true. That is very true. And here it is. Yes, it's annoying when they keep on saying, well, because it's Biden this, Biden that. I get that. It is annoying. But that part is true. Okay? They sought asylum during the Biden administration. They were granted asylum, the likes of Ramen Noodle and others. Okay? They sought asylum. They were here. They say that he was radicalized in America. He was radicalized after he came to America. He was vetted, and they apparently, allegedly, have a very heavy vetting process that they do on every single last one of the Afghani immigrants that get granted asylum here in America. So it's not only just the Biden administration, it's also the Trump administration as well. He slipped right through the cracks during the Biden administration. He was vetted. He seemed to pass with flying colors back then. He should have been getting vetted. with a Trump administration as well. And yet this still happened. So it's a combo thing. It's definitely a combo thing. Hold on. Take a look at this. According to Reuters.
U.S. investigators now believe the Afghan immigrant accused of ambushing National Guard members in Washington, D.C. was not radicalized until after he came to the United States. That's according to Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, who spoke to television news programs on Sunday. Authorities accused 29-year-old Rahmanullah Lakanwal of shooting 2 members of the National Guard just blocks from the White House last week. The attack killed Sarah Beckstrom and critically wounded her fellow guardsman, Andrew Wolf.
So you heard that. Secretary of HS, Homeland Security, said that this man right here, Rahmanullah Lakanwal, was the one that was radicalized while he was in America, after he sought and was granted asylum here in America. He did what he did. Got radicalized then. Just last week, he did what he did. Right? Very interesting stuff. So it makes you wonder what actually happened here. This is where the conspiracy theories start running amok. Am I right or am I right? This is when the conspiracy theories start running like crazy. You got to remember, okay? This guy worked in tandem with the CIA at the ripe young age of 16 years old. He was a part and saw acts of war that no 16-year-old should ever see. Then, after he gets done doing his thing, working alongside the CIA, doing these very special ops and all that, learning from the best, by the way, best of the best, getting vetted by CIA, he's learning, I'm sure, tactically how to do certain things as well. I'm sure he wasn't just standing on the side, just wearing a bulletproof vest all day, all the live long day. I'm sure he was learning a lot at that time as well. Since the age of 16, and he did that for years, y'all. He seeks and gets granted asylum. He gets brought here to America. And then what happens? He just sits there? He has his family, his kids, etc. How does he suddenly get radicalized when he was working for the good guy? For us, the U.S. How does that happen? How does it go from he's working with us, everything's good, you know, America, and then suddenly out of nowhere, as he's here in America, he goes absolutely crazy. And does what he does out there in the streets of DC. How does that happen? No, he was not radicalized when he was in Afghanistan, back in his homeland. He was radicalized while he was here in America. We should be asking that question. Who was reaching out to him? Who was talking to him? Who was actually grooming him to become whatever he became, what he ended up becoming? What happened here? Like I said, why did this happen in this way that it did? And what's also wild to me is that this was an opportunity for Kristi Noem to lie. Let me just tell you that. That was an opportunity for Kristi Noem to lie, but she didn't. I mean, at least I hope she didn't. Because why would she lie and say that he was radicalized while he was in America? Why would she say that? Think about that for a second, because it's very easy for us to sit there and say, oh, yeah, you know, he was radicalized while he was in Afghanistan, and he was still able to slip through the cracks through Biden era, right? She could have easily said that, but she didn't. She said that he was radicalized after he moved here. Sure, Doesn't make Biden's administration look that great either, but I'm just saying, isn't that interesting? She could have lied and said, yeah, he slipped through the cracks through the Biden administration, and he was here in America, and he was already radicalized. And throughout the entire time during the Biden administration, he was just growing more and more angry. He was plotting and plotting and plotting, and then finally he did what he did. No, that's not at all what happened here. She says he was vetted, he was here, he got here, and while he was here in America, he lost his marbles. And then he did what he did. You know that this adds more fuel to the conspiracy theory fire, right? Now, you know, I always keep my tinfoil hat nice and ready off to the side of the table, just in case. You know what I'm saying? Because you never know if you have to screw it on. But in this particular situation, she's basically putting the damn tinfoil hat on my head for me. Crazy, right? Remember what we learned about this guy. He was vetted for years, guys. Vetted for freaking years in Afghanistan. Worked alongside America. Worked alongside the CIA for years. And if I'm correct, even during the Trump administration as well, his first term. And then troops were pulled out of Afghanistan, which was an absolute mess. I agree, it was an absolute mess. It was terrible. Okay? He gets asylum because of what he's done, because of what he did for America and what he did to his own people. Don't forget that what they claim, the allegations are very intense and very insane, okay? They were taking people out. They were taking families and people out. A lot of people got disappeared, if you get what I'm saying. And he was a part of those things. He was part of those operations. Many of these zero units did those kinds of operations. Of course, he's going to get asylum here. Of course. So then he gets that asylum. And then he gets radicalized? What's going on? What's going on? That makes no sense. But again, Kristi Noem could have had that opportunity right then and there, okay, to straight up lie and say everything radicalization happened in Afghanistan, not here. That's not the case. So what happened? Did he realize that America sucks? I don't know what happened. Did he realize that, you know what I mean, in his own mind that America's not great and he misses Afghanistan? He misses poppy fields and dirt? I don't know. I don't know, but it seems so odd that 1 second he's sitting there alongside with us doing unbelievable things for the American people. He gets asylum. He gets brought here. And then suddenly out of nowhere, he's like, F America. What? Unless the government made promises to him that were never given. And that angered him even more. And the things that he did to his own countrymen from the time he was 16, well into, right until he became a young man, could have angered him more. I was promised I was going to have this, and this, and I never got those things. Now I'm being treated like I'm nothing. And I did all this while doing terrible things to my own people. That's possible. It's a possibility. We just leave that on the table. Could be nothing. It could be something, right? But nonetheless, absolutely insane what we're seeing and what we've been hearing. And the fact that they're going, okay, now we got to tighten it up on all the Afghani asylum seekers and all the ones that are here. We need to re-examine them big time, especially the ones that were part of the zero units. Here's the thing. That's not a far-fetched thing. The examining of the ones that are here, I get it, because you never know. There have been, I don't talk about this much, or, what am I saying? I do talk about this woman a lot. But I do want to share this, though. Candace Owens. She said something that I thought was very interesting. I know it's a little bit off the beaten path, but this has to do with what we're talking about. And I think this is absolutely insane. And if this is true, holy cow. But she said something. I don't know if she still hopefully she still has it up here. Hold on. Maybe she did. Maybe she took it down. I doubt she took it down. Hold on. Where the heck is it? Hold on. Should be here somewhere. She said something along the lines of, there is going to be another attack. She said, this is Candace Owens that said this. She said this in a tweet. I don't know if she has it anymore, which is really frustrating me. Okay? Which is very, very frustrating. But she put up a tweet basically saying that there will be another terror attack, okay, from the likes of like some Islamic radicalized group in early December. She said that in a tweet, and then she's like, come back to this tweet because it's going to age very well, or something crazy like that. Now, I don't know if she took that down, which is frustrating, because she definitely said that in a tweet just the other day. And she's been dark. Okay. She has not been out here doing any shows. I guess whatever happened here definitely scared her. All these attacks, these threats of taking her out. Yeah, she really did say that. I'm trying to find it. This is driving me nuts. Hold on. I'm combing through this very slowly because it was just a few days ago. Hold on, guys. She must have deleted it, I guess. That's so strange because she doesn't seem like the type to just. Yeah, it's gone. And that's weird to me that it's gone, because she doesn't seem like the type that just deletes her stuff. Okay. But she said out loud, there will be another attack early December. Wait for it. And it was something along the lines of like, hold on to this tweet because it's going to age very well. That's what she said. And I don't know why it's now gone. Maybe she was wrong. Maybe her theory was wrong. I don't know. But she doesn't seem like the type that just deletes her ish. You know what I'm saying? She just keeps everything up there. It is what it is, right? But yeah, I'm not seeing anything, which is very frustrating. Okay, it is what it is. I was trying to find it. I don't see anything. Yeah, I don't see it. It's gone. That sucks. But anyway, I guess she took it down. But it was crazy. I saw that. I was like, whoa, what is she saying? Like, what does she know? Right? What kind of information does she know? That's some scary stuff. But nonetheless, it's gone now, which is wild. All right. So again, it does make you wonder, how does somebody like him, like Rahmanullah, okay, suddenly get radicalized while he's in America, right? Because if you think about it, if he's somebody who has been so hardcore about protecting American people, helping American troops, working alongside the CIA, and then suddenly out of nowhere, he just gets radicalized here. That's pretty insane, right? It does make you wonder about what's going on. Now, narco terrorism, law of armed conflict, laws of armed conflict, and the right to just take everybody out, okay, is pretty insane. And I think it's a very, very weak, I just think it's a very, very weak excuse for making a major mistake, just in my personal opinion. Now, outside of all this, you have other things that are going on. Like, let's not forget them talking about the fact that the president pardoned the ex-president of Honduras. Why? Why would he go and pardon the likes of someone like the former president of Honduras, Juan Orlando Hernandez? Okay, a man the U.S. literally convicted of running one of the biggest substance moving operations out there in the Western Hemisphere. Massive. Okay. And again, like I said before, and we're starting to hear now even more, people are losing their minds over this situation. Why? Well, I get it. I get why. Okay. He wasn't just some small time like a politician who just made a small mistake. He was moving serious weight, guys. He's being accused, of moving some serious weight. Okay. Now, here's what's very strange to me about this situation. He was accused of moving some serious weight. Then he was convicted. And then he was going to be spending a good long time behind prison bars. And guess what? The same person that's sitting here saying that there's a full-on war on drugs with Venezuela, in fact, said any person that is traveling in a boat up to America, they are now narco terrorists. The same person that said the laws of war, the laws of armed conflict protect the American, the American military for taking out anybody and completely obliterating boats and taking the lives of many who are trying to bring substances up to America to take the lives of our loved ones. That same president pardoned a massive drug trafficker just recently. You realize that is like one of the biggest oxymorons in the history of oxymorons, right? He's sitting there going, there's a war on drugs. We're not messing with that stuff. America, right? Everybody who's trying to bring that stuff up here, they're all narco terrorists, and we're going to take them out by any means necessary. This is what he was basically saying and telling his military troops and Pete Hegseth, annihilate them all. AKA kill them all. He's in trouble for all of that stuff. And then meantime, he turns over and he goes, ex-president Hernandez, you didn't really move all that stuff. There's not enough evidence that shows that you did that. Nah. Let him go. Set him free. Make that make sense. So, you tell me that you're going off towards Venezuela to eradicate and put a stop to drugs being smuggled into this country. Yet one of the biggest smugglers in the Western Hemisphere is getting pardoned by you at the same damn time. Make it make sense. You really don't think Hernandez is going to go back and just pick up a job at a Starbucks or a McDonald's? No, he's going to go right back to what he was doing before. Moving weight, baby. Smiling in people's faces, shaking hands, and kissing babies, and moving that mother-loving weight. Like nothing even happened, that there was no hitch in his giddy up. Do you understand that? So when you say Venezuela is pumping bad stuff that's taking Americans' lives, while you're saying and doing that, you're also letting go a person who is also a part of that problem too. You realize that, right? That makes no earthly sense. And what's wild to me is that if there's, because they said, oh, he had a court-appointed lawyer to defend him in that trial, and that was not fair. That's basically what it was. It wasn't fair. That's on him, baby. Right? Could he not have gotten a better lawyer to protect him, to defend him, to prove the holes in the prosecution's argument? And yet they say the evidence was not enough. That's what she said. That's what Caroline just said at that press conference. It's not enough to throw him in jail. Yet let me repeat this again. This man was one of the biggest drug trafficking operators in the Western Hemisphere. Let me also say this too. I'm just reading this off camera, but he's being accused of turning his country, Honduras, into a full-on narco state while he was in office. Yeah. This isn't just some guy that was just running, like out here, just his own Honduran Pablo Escobar. No. He was sitting there, like I said before, shaking hands, kissing babies, gesticulating like a politician. All the while, behind closed doors, he's moving weight. He worked hand in hand with cartels, helped move tons of yayo into the United States, and used his power of office to protect those actual drug traffickers. Come on now. You got a New York court, federal court in New York, that actually convicted him of these crimes. And he got hit with a 45-year sentence. Make that make sense. And then out of the clear blue sky, suddenly out of nowhere, Trump swoops in and says, no, he can go. Huh? Aren't you doing a war on drugs? Say what? Full-on war on drugs. And okay. And you're pardoning one of the biggest traffickers in the Western Hemisphere. Convicted, by the way. This isn't just like for ish and giggles, out of nowhere type of thing. One of the biggest movers in the Western Hemisphere, and he just got pardoned by Trump. You can't make this stuff up, y'all. You realize how bad that is, right? It's not a good look. Like I said, it looks... It's an extremely bad look. Long story short, y'all. Okay? An extremely, extremely bad look. So now, when you hear that information about Honduras, let me ask you this. Are we really having a war on drugs with Venezuela? Or is there something else going on? Because you know for damn sure, if you have somebody of the likes of an ex-president of Honduras getting locked up, sentenced to 45 plus years in prison for being one of the biggest drug smugglers in the Western Hemisphere, and our president just pardoned that guy for doing those kinds of crimes. Are we really at war with Venezuela over them moving weight on boats? Or is there something else really going on here? I'm sorry, guys. I got to ask the question because it doesn't make sense. And those excuses that we heard from Caroline are not good enough for me, at least. You got somebody who is a convicted smuggler, one of the biggest ever, that was running a country as well, and used his power to manipulate the people around him to keep moving weight and protecting those traffickers as well. He gets pardoned? See, at this point, he might as well just pardon Ghislaine Maxwell because he's already on a roll. Okay? I'm being real. I don't know what just happened. I meant to hit that button, but let's be real. I don't know what the hell just happened. But on some real stuff, think about that for a second. You might as well just let Ghislaine go. Okay? Let her live and breathe out in this freedom air and just be done with it, man. Just be freaking done with it. Because you know for a fact that's what he wants to do. But make it make sense, y'all. This does not make any sense. It just doesn't. Period, point blank. Now, Faith, thank you so much. This is exactly where did you find the tweet, Faith? Because I was trying to find it. I couldn't find it to save my doggone life. Man. But this is great. This is the tweet that Candace Owens said just a few days ago, and I was looking for it, and I couldn't find it to save my damn life. But she said, they've been signaling a Terry-style attack like 9/11, and they're apparently saying that it's happening. Oh, I thought it was going to happen within the first week or something like that of December. But they're saying the second week of December. And then she said, then come back to this post. It will age well. I'm sorry. I'm going to hit the right button this time, but you found it on Google? You found it on Google, love. Yes, over in the Google. Thank you so much for finding it because I didn't find it in her tweets. But she really did post this, y'all. She said, there's going to be something bad. 9/11. Never forget America. It's apparently coming in the second week of December. Then she says, come back to this post because it will age well. I want to know what she knows. But I don't know if she's doing any shows anytime soon because I understand. I think she's scared. Hold on. I'm just seeing if she's going to post, if she has anything up saying like, interview, blah, blah, blah. Nope. She does not have any posts, any heads up of anything at all. Okay? Just so you all know. So that's crazy. So we don't know what's going to happen. She's gone dark. I don't know why she's gone dark. I don't blame her.
U.S. investigators.
I don't blame her for going dark. I do not. But at the same time, she has gone dark. We do have an update, though, I want to share with y'all about Andrew Wolf, the other soldier that was hit. Apparently, there is some good news. Apparently, he woke up. Apparently, he's responding to, or he was seen responding to a nurse. Yeah, see, exactly. I don't think he's going to get pardoned at all anytime soon. In fact, I'm probably going to do a small video a little bit later, but Diddy, there's a new trailer because he's got 50 Cent has this whole new documentary coming out on Diddy coming out tomorrow, and it's very interesting, and it could look really, really bad for Diddy, especially the stuff that he's discussing before the trial. Before the Diddy trial, which is insane. So that may be a video I do on the, by itself here in the future. But nonetheless, yeah, I can't wait to see that documentary. I'm going to be watching, taking notes. We're going to talk about it, trust and believe. But we do have some good news about Andrew Wolf. Let's take a listen to this.
Saying that my heart goes out to the family of the two individuals who were despicably gunned down in Washington, D.C. And since we originally received word of the shooting, we worked very hard to try to coordinate with the Guard, the federal government, the families, and everyone to ensure that the state's response is appropriate. I want to update people. First, there'll be a lot of questions about the condition. I want to say I'm not the doctor. I'm not going to try to pretend to be so. What I will say is that Andrew remains in serious condition. We did have some positive news that we were told that Andrew was asked if he could hear the nurse who asked the question to give a thumbs up, and he did respond. And we were told that he also wiggled his toes. So we take that as a positive sign.
Now, that's great news. Of course, this is from West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey, okay, just so you guys know. But he is doing okay, or he is still, like he said, in critical condition, but he is responding, which is awesome, okay? He's responding. He could wiggle his toes. He put a thumbs up and everything. So that is a great thing. That is some great news when it comes to this tragedy. Of course, the other National Guard did not make it. May she rest in peace. And that's obviously very, very bad. But there is something I wanted to talk about. There is something I wanted to talk about because I forgot to tell you. And it's a little bit of a left turn, or it's a little bit going back to where we talked about, okay? Earlier with Errol Musk. Two things. One, Netflix is where the Diddy documentary is going to be coming out on, just so you guys know. And don't worry, I'm probably going to be doing a video about that in a few hours to give you guys some updates, because there's some other things we need to talk about, which is absolutely insane. We're going to talk about that in the whole pop-up video in a little bit. But Diddy documentary coming out tomorrow on Netflix, just so you know. All right? Just so you know. So looking forward to seeing that for sure. Because there's some stuff in that's already been leaked that is looking bad. All right. Now, here's another thing I want to talk to you guys about. And this is what aggravates me. It's a little bit of a story. It's a short one, okay? But when Errol Musk said, "Do you want the country to go dark?" Right? He said that after the interviewer asked him about the possibility, you know, what the future of America looks like. That America is, you know, the minority is going to be white, right? Could potentially become white. And he's like, "Oh, that would be terrible." You know, he said all about the advancement of life the advancement of technology, and the ways of life would not be possible without white people, that kind of thing. It's ridiculous. Okay. You know, I think that there are a lot of things that we all can do. All right. If we work together in positivity and in unity. And that's what I truly think as well. Okay. There are geniuses in every single race. That's what I truly think as well. I think it's a very messed up thing to say out loud, but the dark thing, let me just say that I have not heard that phrase in a very, very long time, but it is a very, very real thing. Let me explain to you guys what I mean. You know, you go to certain bars or clubs or whatever, right? And I know a lot of guys who, you know, spin, you know, they DJ, that kind of thing, or they run clubs, or they help party promote, that kind of thing. And one thing is for sure that, like I said, have not heard in a long time. But I've heard that from white people. I'm going to say it. I'm sorry, but it's true. Where they go to a bar and say it's a fairly integrated bar, right? Got a good mix of black people, brown, white, everybody. Everybody's in there, okay? Every shade, okay? Neapolitan ice cream. All different types of races, all in one place, right? I know DJs that will sit there and say, "Yeah, I'll have the manager of the bar or the club or the owner of the bar or the club actually call in and tell them, change the music. It's getting too dark." verbatim. I've heard that. In fact, I've heard people actually say that out loud. Like, wow, this place is getting kind of dark. I've heard that out loud at places. Not only just like bars and, watering holes, local watering holes. I'm talking like, you go to an event, go to a movie or something of that sort, where all types of people are going to go to it. They will actually use that phrase. They will say that. You want this country to go dark? This place is going to turn into a jungle. Now, I've never heard the jungle part. I've heard the jungle part, but I've never heard the jungle part often. Like I said, racism is real, okay? It's very real. It's very prominent. And if you don't pick up the cues, it'll fly right over your head, y'all. If you don't pick up the cues, they will fly right over your head. And then it'll hit you later. You're like, oh my God. You know what I mean? It'll be the next day you're brushing your teeth. What? You know what I mean? It'll be that kind of stuff if you're not quick with it. But it happens. But I'm being serious. I have been at places where, everybody, everybody's in there. Everybody's having a great time. They're playing great music. It's banging. Just using a club for an example. And then it'll be like a text message the DJ gets, or a phone call, or, the manager goes up and it goes from everybody in the club getting tipsy to I'm a slave for you. Like, what? We straight up went from here to what? Britney Spears? What? Sweet Caroline. What? What happened here? Yeah, man. Manager just said it was getting too dark in here, bro. What? But why? What? It's real, y'all. And it happens in every bar and club that you can even fathom. It may not happen at every single one, okay? But it does happen. Sorry, not sorry. It's true. Especially the ones where it's, let's just say it is integrated, but there's more majority of one race than the other, okay? But it's still integrated, but there's more, you know what I'm saying? You get what I'm saying, all right? But then, it'll be like one night where there's a bigger turnout. And no. Managers don't like that. Or the club promoter or whatever it is, they'll be like, yo, we got to change it up. That kind of thing. And then they'll just switch the music on a dime. I'm being real. You go to the club, you go to the bar, whatever it may be, just listen to the music. I'm being dead serious. It's the sound cues too. I'm just being real. This is not like some crazy, like, I'm not saying MK Ultra, you know what I mean? We're about to get activated. No, I'm just saying it's the little subtleties that are just blatant. If you really step outside the box and look in, you're going to be like, oh my God, that just happened. And no, it's not like some girl with her bachelorette party from her sorority days, okay, coming off of a party bus, walking over to the DJ, asking for like, I don't know, some typical white girl song. You know what I'm saying? No, it won't be like, can you play some Sabrina Carpenter? I'm just fiending for some espresso martinis right now. Nope. You won't even get that. No, you won't get that. It'll just on a dime out of nowhere. Why did that happen? We were vibing good, y'all. What just happened? Wait for it. It really does happen. It does happen. It's true. It's real. And they'll say stuff like, it's getting too dark. Real talk. It's crazy. It's subtle. But if you see it, it's loud. So I had to say that. I had to let you guys know that story. All right. Okay. Hey, ain't nothing wrong with Sabrina. She cool, I guess. You know what I'm saying? She ain't my cup of tea. But, you know, if you like Sabrina, you like Sabrina. All I'm saying is you get what I'm saying. Okay? It's not like they're going up and saying, hey, I mean, you know, some of them do, but then you're not going up there going, can you play some Sexy Red? You know what I mean? It's nah. Okay? So let me just say this, okay? Eventually, just going back to this, to what's going on. I just wanted to tell you that story because I need y'all to get hip to that stuff because it's real. It's real. That stuff is real. Okay? And it's sad. Okay? Sad. It's very, very sad. But here's the thing. All right. As time goes on, hopefully here soon, we're going to see some stuff. I don't know if Candace Owens is right with what she's saying about what's going on in the second week of December. What's going on in the second week of December? And do we all just need to stay home? Like, what the F is going on? Can you give us more in details? She was able to give us more details about her possible annihilation, her possibly getting completely taken out, right? What happened, right? So I would like to know some more information, please and thank you. But yeah, Kyla, I guess we'll see, right? We'll see what happens. But when it comes to Pete Hegseth, when it comes to what's going on in Venezuela, the weird, shady workings of the pardoning of the ex-president of Honduras, very strange, y'all. And I'm wondering why. Why would he pardon that guy? Is it something to do with Venezuela as well? There's an obsession and a focus on Venezuela. Is it more than just Yayo and Fenty being brought into America? Is it more than that? Or is it just what they're saying it is? I just never seen the likes of what we're seeing right now when it comes to taking these traffickers out, right? These people that are moving weight. It's pretty wild, okay? So let's see what happens here. This is going to be very interesting to see how everything transpires, okay? But I'm here sitting on the sidelines. I got my popcorn. I got the heater too. You know what I'm saying? Sitting right here just in case things go insane. I got to protect my own too. Shoot. You should too. This is some wild stuff. Hopefully more truth comes out. But I don't know if we're going to get the truth from the horse's mouth. We have to lean on these reporters, these journalists that are putting out this information. I think it's funny that Caroline's like, you see that they're talking about all this stuff about Trump, but they're talking about Biden. I think both administrations were just full of ish, all lying, especially when it came to health, especially Biden's health. I think all lies, right? And I think it's the same thing with Trump too. I don't think that they're telling us the full truth. Okay. So I guess we're going to see what happens here, y'all. We'll see what happens. Let me get these super chats here really quick. Nurse for God, thank you so much for being a member for 9 months. I appreciate it. Pascal is always on fire. Get it here first. I try. Sometimes I'm hella late, but I try. Okay. Angel Disguise, thank you so much for the love. Pasky baby, mods and chat. Love from Wales, UK. Thank you so much, Angel in Disguise. I really do appreciate it. And yes, shout out to my amazing mods. Okay. Shout out to my amazing mods. Thank you for always holding it down. You guys are always awesome. Okay. But yeah, guys, I will let you guys know if there's more information here in the near future. It was just a very interesting press conference, but a very telling one in my personal opinion. When we get more information, we'll talk about it. I just hope that the information that we have coming soon, if it, revolving around these things, are more truthful, right? That's what I'm hoping for. But that is the show. I appreciate all y'all for being here. It really means a lot. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please do me a favor, hit that like button down below. Crush it. Do what it do. Hit that reaction button if you're watching on other platforms as well. If you are watching on those other platforms, make sure you're following. Okay? Follow. All right? Subscribe here on my main channel. Check out Pascal, the Pascal Show clips and Pascal Raw. Subscribe to those other channels as well. That'd be greatly appreciated. All right? Hit that notification bell on all those platforms. Set it to all so you know whenever I go live, whenever I upload, because it is random. Hit that join button down below. Support the channel if you can. Check out my Patreon. And, of course, check out PascalMerch.com. All right? Anyway, guys, it's time to get going. Much love to you guys. I'll be talking to you guys very, very soon because we got a lot to talk about. So I'll be hopping on in a little bit to talk to you guys about more stuff that's going on. So stay tuned. All right? Anyway, it's time to get going. Be good to yourselves. Be good to one another. This is The Pascal Show. Bye.